Okay, picture this. The year is 1946. World War II has just ended. Soldiers are finally coming home, hoping for peace. But in one small town in Tennessee, well, the fighting wasn't over, not by a long shot. A different kind of war was about to begin, right on their own soil. This is the incredible true story of the Battle of Athens, the town that fought back. It all boils down to this. One simple, devastating fact. On August 1st, 1946, in Athens, Tennessee, an election was stolen. Right out in the open. You see, there was this corrupt local political machine, and they were desperate to cling to power. So they didn't just rig the vote. Nope. They seized the actual ballot boxes, dragged them down to the town jail, and barricaded themselves inside. They were literally holding democracy itself hostage. So what happened next? It wasn't a riot. Far from it. This was a calculated response. As the word spread about this brazen theft, the whole town just transformed from a quiet community into a powder keg with a very, very short fuse. Did you catch that last word? Again? This was not the first time the people of McMinn County had dealt with this kind of corruption, but for one particular group of citizens, it was absolutely going to be the last. And who were they? They were the town's recently returned World War II veterans. I mean, these are guys who had just fought against tyranny on the other side of the world. There was no way they were going to stand by and watch it take root in their own backyard. So they decided to make a stand. They knew exactly what was at stake. They'd already risked everything for freedom once before, and their resolve was like iron. This wasn't about them starting a fight. It was about finishing one that had been forced on them. And that military training, it kicked in immediately. They didn't just react with anger, they organized. The plan was so direct, so decisive, you can just see their strategic thinking at work. Get weapons and take back the votes. Simple as that. So they went to the local armory and gathered what they could. We're talking rifles, pistols, and yes, even dynamite. This was not a symbolic protest. They were preparing for a serious, head-on confrontation to get their rights back. And let's be really clear about the scale here. This wasn't just a few guys. We are talking about hundreds of trained soldiers, an organized force marching in formation through their own town, heading straight for the jail. And just like that, the battle began. The veterans surrounded the jail, and this incredibly tense standoff just fell over the entire town. You had the deputies inside, the veterans outside, and the fate of their democracy hanging right there in the balance. And then the standoff shattered. From inside the jail, the deputies opened fire on their own citizens. That single moment right there, that was the point of no return. The night just exploded into chaos. Gunfire started echoing off the buildings. Civilians were scrambling for cover, and the veterans, now taking fire, fired back. The battle for Athens was on. Now this wasn't some brief little skirmish. For hours, the jail was basically a fortress, a bunker under siege. Bullets were flying, windows were shattering, and the two sides were locked in this deadly stalemate. As the hours just dragged on and on, the veterans realized something. Gunfire alone wasn't going to break the siege. They had to end it. They had to force the issue. And so, a bold and frankly, an incredibly dangerous decision was made. You guessed it. They decided to use the dynamite. They threw charges at the jail, and this massive explosion just tore through the front porch and the wall. And in that ringing silence that followed, the message was crystal clear. This is over. And you know what? The dynamite worked. Dazed, defeated, the deputies surrendered. The veterans stormed the jail, and there, in the rubble, they found exactly what they had fought for. The ballot boxes, safe and sound. So, as the sun started to come up on a town that was literally scarred by battle, the votes were finally counted. Honestly, openly, and the result? It wasn't even close. The veterans' ticket had won the election in a landscape. But what happened next? This might be the most remarkable part of the entire story. You'd expect revenge, right? Chaos, a new group taking over and abusing power. But that is not what happened. The new government was sworn in, the corrupt guys fled, and law and order were restored almost immediately. A peaceful, orderly transition. Now, for decades after this incredible event was kind of swept under the rug, treated like a town secret almost. It was a story that just didn't fit neatly into the history books, and it left behind a really complex and debated legacy. And people really did debate it. Was this a dangerous rebellion, a mob just taking the law into its own hands? Or was it a heroic, last-ditch defense of the most fundamental American right, a necessary evil when every other option had failed? But no matter how you look at it, one truth really stands out. On that night in 1946, democracy and that small Tennessee town survived. Not because of politicians, not because of laws on a piece of paper, but because its citizens were willing to fight for it. And that leaves us with a pretty big question. One that echoes from that battlefield in 1946 all the way to us, right here, right now. It's a question for all of us to really think about. What does it mean to protect democracy in our own time? If you found this story as powerful as I did, and you want to uncover more of this kind of hidden history, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next explainer. And hey, let us know in the comments below, what piece of forgotten history do you think we need to explain next? We genuinely love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.